Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. So recently I made these heart-shaped boxes with the butterfly glued to the top. I had a viewer ask me to do a tutorial on how I made those butterflies. It's a pretty simple relief, but you can use this technique to embellish any kind of a box of any shape. So I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's make that tutorial. Like I always say, there's 100 different ways you can do this, but this is the way that I do it. And I hope you get something out of this video. I hope it helps somebody in some way. I hope you learn something. Let's get started. Okay, the basic premise of this is very simple. Let's open up Carveco here. I've already got my stock size and origin already determined, but to show you what I'm dealing with, I'll go to Model, Set Size, and we have a 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch piece of work surface with the origin in the center. Now the reason we want a 5.5 inch square is that will allow you to use any 1x material that you can find to create this project. The object is to create the project in the center here, and when the carving is complete, you'll take the project to the bandsaw and remove the carving from the center. So to begin with, we need a heart, and the heart we used was in the vector library. Start typing the word heart, and the one we used is right here. Drag him into the work surface and release. Close this, we don't need that any further. Now as you can see, it tried to make the heart 5.5 by 5.5, and we don't need it that large. The heart that we made was 4 inches roughly. Over on this side you'll see the size. You can see this little lock and this little lock, which means we have the aspect ratio locked in this case, and that is how we want it. So we're going to reduce this to 4 inches. And of course the bottom number is a little bit off, but we don't care about that. Hit apply. And now we have the heart 4 by 4 roughly. Hit F9 to make sure that it's in the middle. And we're good to go. Go over to the arrow. Click off the screen to remove the highlight. Now we need a butterfly to put in there. And the reason we put the heart on the paper or on the project surface is so that we can use that as a reference. We're actually going to remove this heart when we're finished with it. But let's go to the vector library, relief clip art library, I'm sorry. And luckily we don't have to search for it. The butterfly we're looking for is right here. Left click and drag him into the work surface area. X out the relief library, we don't need that. We don't need the vector library. Now as you can see, that butterfly is enormous, way bigger than the project size, so we're going to need to reduce him down. And it just so happens, I've already done this math, so we don't need to try and figure it out. You're going to want the butterfly to be 2.5 inches in width. Again, aspect ratio is locked, so we'll change that to 2.5. I'm sorry, it's 2.25. Hit apply. Now that's a little more manageable. Again, if we hit F9, it brings the butterfly to the center, but it's not into the center of the heart. If you wanted to move it to the center of the heart, which is not necessary, but it'll give you the ability to see if the object that you're going to put in the top of the initial project will fit. When you have the crosshair, click once, and then you can use the up and down arrows on your keyboard to adjust that object in a straight line, up, down, left, or right, based on which arrow you're pushing. Now as you can see, we now know that the 2.25 inch butterfly will fit within that 4 inch heart on the inside. So that part of the project is done. Now we want to adjust the height of the butterfly, and that height should be, again, I've done all these calculations, I've rotated the screen to come up with what works best. That should be 0.5 in height. Hit apply. Now that is all correct. We're going to remove this heart, but we want the butterfly in the center. So hit F9 one more time. Now you can paste it down. Do not paste the butterfly until you have moved it to the center of your work surface. Ours is in the center, we'll hit paste. We no longer need the heart. The heart was just for reference, to show us that The object we wanted was going to fit and it was going to look correct proportionately. So you can highlight the heart, delete those lines. Now that they're gone, you have a simple relief. However, in order to reduce the amount of carving that's done on this project, we don't want to carve this entire 5.5 inch piece of stock away. We're going to create a square around that butterfly. And you could put that square in any place on the work surface you'd like. We're going to pop that in the middle once we adjust the size. The size of that square should be 3 inches by 3 inches. Again, there's no aspect ratio, so you're going to have to change those manually. 3 inches by 3 inches. You can see the square has changed. We don't want to round the corners. That's not necessary for this. Create the square over here. We now have the square around the butterfly. Hit F9 to put that square dead in the center. And we're good to go. Now we can start the toolpaths. What we're going to want to do is select a relief carving toolpath. You can do it here with this icon. You can click on the toolpaths over here and scroll to the relief. It's just as simple for me to click here. When the toolpath opens, you'll be greeted with this menu. Now we don't want to do the whole relief, because what that will do is it'll carve the entire work surface back and forth, and I don't want that. I want to carve just in here so that I have material to work with when I take it to the saw to cut this loose, and it will reduce the carve time considerably. So click the drop down. You're going to want selected vectors. Click that. You're going to want to make sure it says inside the vector. If you're outside, it'll carve out here. We don't want that. We want it to carve in this side. Inside vectors. Now this will take 2 tools to complete this carve. Click on your finishing tool, and that was an 1/8 inch ball nose. Click ball nose, select that tool. I'm not changing any of this information in here or here. I'm going to go down to the roughing tool, click select that. 1/8 inch end mill, flat end mill. Again, this will be a raster movement. We don't need to change any of this information. As long as your information says what mine does, you'll be good to go. Scrolling down. All of this information should be identical. You shouldn't have to change anything. Now the safe Z height I will change, because I don't need the machine to lift a 1/2 inch above the work surface for each pass that's not cutting. So we'll click on this. And I use 1/4 inch. You could get closer, but I just feel comfortable with 1/4 inch. I know it's not going to run into my clamps at that height. We need to click to define the material. In this case, this block will be 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch thick, 0.75. Click OK. Now give it a name. We're going to call it a butterfly. B-U-T-T-E-R-F-L-Y. Calculate now. And we wait for the computer to finish its job. Alright, close out the toolpath menu. We don't need that any longer. For the sake of argument, let's simulate all toolpaths. And as you can see, we have a butterfly. Now if we push on the space bar and left click, we can drag to the left, and you can see that it has carved inward only in the square portion that we outlined. Bring that back out straight. So there you have it. That's how you program for this butterfly. What you'll do now is carve it out, obviously. I can show you a little bit of that here. So the next thing you're going to want to do is create toolpaths. And looking at this, it dawns on me that I've made a mistake. Delete the simulation. Double click on the butterfly toolpath. And as you scroll through here, you will see that the ball nose and the end mill have the same tool number. We can't do that. We have to break the tool number to number 2 for the finishing tool. Click on the ball nose tool. As you can see, it'll open up again. Right here, tool number, we need to change that to number 2. Scroll down and recalculate one more time. If you don't separate tool number 1 to tool number 2, the machine won't stop and allow you to change to a finishing tool. Close this out. We can again simulate just to confirm. We still have a butterfly, so we're in good shape. Let's right click on simulation, delete the simulation, and now we can save the tool path. And as you can see, the roughing bit is tool number 1, finishing bit is tool number 2. We're in good shape there. Go down to the bottom and give it a name. We're going to do the B-U-T-T-E-R. No, wait a minute. That's B-U-U. Let's do B-U-T-T-E-R-F-L-Y. And save it. And again, I click twice just because. Yes, I want to override it. Close that out. And you're good to go carve this butterfly out. Now, when the butterfly is finished, again, you'll take it to your bandsaw. You'll slice it loose. Then you'll take it to the sander. Once that happens, you can then do this. There you have it, folks. A pretty little butterfly landing on a heart-shaped box. Don't forget the glue. Put a little polyurethane or your finish of choice on it, and you've got yourself a pretty little heart-shaped box. I hope you got something out of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, picked up a few tricks. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give us a like, share, comment. I really enjoy reading the comments. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.